So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hiban. And now, for the review of the day. I got a review from EDW30. EDW30 says, Pat Hiban is not spewing theory, he's the real deal. At first I didn't like his delivery, but material and guests were so good I stayed with it. I've learned he is just being Pat, authentic in every way. There's a gem in every podcast with every guest. I'm hooked, and I'm learning what to do, when to do it, and when to do what I need to do to win in business of real estate. You need this. By the way, Pat, you handled Miss $1 Million Realtor with tremendous class. I'm afraid I would not have been such a gentleman once she showed who she was. Thank you, EDW30. Keep the comments coming, guys. I love them. And remember, I eat feedback for breakfast, so give me a 1-star review if you want, or a 5-star review if you want. I don't care. And the more reviews we get, the better guests we get. So please, subscribe first, and then leave us a review or wherever you're listening. All right, Rockstar Nation, I got a great guest today coming out of Oakland, California, Mr. Jeff Weissman. Jeff, welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to the conversation with you.
Hey, Jeff, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself so they could get to know you better?
Sure. Well, let's see. I'm 69 years old. This is my third career. I've started real estate as an investor about 15 or 18 years ago, and built a portfolio of 14 properties. Eventually kind of maxed out that, but had learned how much I love real estate. So I decided to get my license and practice as a realtor, but basically using other people's money. So I got my license in 2010 and have been a top producer ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. And so third career is cool. What were your first two careers?
My first career this was after getting a master's degree in psychology, actually. I went into photography, and I built a business as a freelance commercial photographer, and I did that for almost 20 years. Then I transitioned into teaching, and I became a 4th grade elementary school teacher here in Oakland. Did that for 12 years. Toward the end of that process, my brother-in-law, actually, who at the time, well, he still is an agent with Keller Williams, got me interested in investing. So I kind of dove into that sort of as a career alongside my teaching. And then, as I said, ended up leaving teaching after 12 years, had discovered how much I loved real estate, got my license, and have been doing real estate since 2010. So now my 9th year.
That's awesome. A friend of mine and mentor, Dr. Fred Gross, used to always say, you should reincarnate yourself and your job and that sort of thing about 3 to 4 times every lifetime. So you've certainly done that. So
well, I think most of us have quite a wide variety of skills, and it's kind of a pity to box yourself into one set of skills and one career for your whole life. So yeah, I'm a proponent of that exact same teaching.
That's awesome. So let's get to some nitty gritty. So how many houses have you sold in the last 12 months?
Okay, well, in 2018, let's focus on that. I sold 30 transactions. Volume was about $24 million. Gross commission income around $645,000.
That's awesome. And what's your profit margin on that?
Profit margin is approximately a little over 2%, between 2 and 2.5%.
I mean,
Sale price.
so, so what would that be? That would be like off of the 600, right? What did you spend and what did you keep?
Well, my net commission is that what you're
Yeah. So like, you made 630, right? And how much did you spend, do you think? On business stuff, not personal stuff.
oh, probably 150 grand, I'm guessing.
150 grand.
I don't
So,
I don't I don't have that number off the top of my head. My net
okay.
commission was in the low fives.
You mean after the broker was paid?
Yeah,
Okay, in the low fives, and then you took another 25% off of that. So you ended up with like 375 or so, which would be about
after expenses, yeah.
yeah. So you're about 30. You spend about 35%, maybe keep 60%, something like
That
that.
sounds about right. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's good. And it's just you, right?
Yes, I'm an independent sole proprietor. I don't have a team. I'm kind of bucking the trend a little bit, although I am uh, in process of bringing my daughter into my business. We got her license about a year ago. She's on maternity leave at the moment, so as soon as she comes back later in the year, she and I will be working together. I'll be training her and bringing her into my business. But
That's awesome.
for the most part, most of my career just has been as a solo agent.
Well, I mean, you got good profit. You know what I mean? So, why, if you don't want to mess with it, don't mess with it, and it's certainly paying you well compared to being a photographer or a teacher for sure.
Certainly a lot more than I, that's for sure.
All right. So let's talk about your business. So you've been in business, this is your 9th year. You have the mindset of an investor. Where's your business come from currently?
Currently, the majority of my business is sphere of influence and past clients. I think I'm at that point in my career now, 9 years in, where I'm able to leverage the work that I did early on. So I get a fair amount of business from people who I helped purchase a house 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and referrals from them and other past clients. That segment of my business is growing, and I'm not generating as large a percentage of my business from other lead gen sources.
Okay. And like when you started, where were you getting business?
Well, when I started, I made a strategic decision to put a lot of emphasis on lead generation from paid sources. And my rationale for that was that I was already, I wasn't a young kid fresh out of college. And my horizon for building this third career was a lot shorter than most new agents, I suppose. So I decided that if I was going to be successful, I needed to ramp up quickly. I didn't feel like I had time to go the traditional route of door knocking or sending postcards to my farm or attending Chamber of Commerce meetings and networking through neighborhood groups and all that kind of stuff. So instead, I earmarked a fair amount of money to plow into lead gen. And I experimented with different sources, ultimately settled on Zillow, and have been generating lots of business from that channel ever since.
And so what are you spending now on Zillow?
Right now, my Zillow spend is about $4,000 a month, but half of that is covered by lender partners. So out of pocket, it's about $2,000 a month.
And okay, so let's talk about this, because a lot of people that spend a lot on Zillow, they have big teams, they have inside sales agents, ISAs, they have they have automated assistants, texting people back, and they have this, incredible um, force, right, of follow up in that first 30 days or so. And here you're doing it by yourself. And so take me through that. Like, what do you do? What why do you think they end up going with you versus one of the other 6 people that get the Zillow lead?
Well, first I would say that by the time I'm talking to them, they are already predisposed to work with me.
Why?
Because most people have already done a fair amount of research about the market area and about the agents that they're seeing online. Also, because when they see my profile, they see that I have over 110 positive Zillow reviews, and that I'm a very active agent in my area, a top producer with very strong numbers compared to other agents they're seeing online. So lots of closed transactions, very focused geographically. But I think that the most important feature or aspect is the number of positive reviews. So by the time they reach me, I think they're already in a mindset that they want to work with me. Now all I have to do is convince them that I'm the real deal. I just have to be authentic. I have to be transparent. I have to be helpful. And I don't know, for me, that's relatively easy to do.
Yeah. And so do you have speed to lead? Like, are you like, what's your process there with following up?
Yeah, you have to. I don't have a team or an ISA or any of those supporting elements that bigger team leaders employ, like you referred to earlier. So I do rely on technology, of course, to respond quickly to the leads as they come in. Number one, however, is to answer the phone. It's pretty simple. Zillow's concierge calls me and connects me to the consumer, and all I have to do is pick up the phone when they call, and the consumer is there ready and waiting to get my assistance.
So you do the concierge where they do the follow up for you, and then they just give you the lead when it's ready.
Yes, yes, that's right. And at the same time, because the Zillow Concierge does not have 100% connection rate, of course. I don't know if it does. So I'm also employing technology to respond immediately to those leads. I use a system called Zerpal, and I use Agentology. And both of those systems immediately text, email the consumer and begin a process of engagement. Sometimes I'm not able to pick up the phone, and so the backup technology sources that I use stand in for me until I'm able to jump in.
Okay, so you got 3 things kind of following after that, and then including them. So okay, good stuff. So let's talk about some lessons that you've learned in the past 10 years or so. If you were to have to do it all over again, what lessons could you advise us that you've learned so that our listeners don't make the same mistakes twice? Make the same mistakes as you.
I didn't make any mistakes. No, I'm just kidding. We all make mistakes, and we have to learn from them. And relying on more experienced agents is so important. And as an experienced agent, sharing your knowledge and expertise with your colleagues, whether they're in your brokerage or not, I think is key. It's really important. And I've tried to do that at every opportunity, including presenting in front of thousands of people at the Zillow forum, for example, but also being ready, willing, and available to both new agents and more seasoned colleagues here in town. So that's real important. But in terms of avoiding mistakes, I look back at my early years and I think, I probably could have done a better job removing myself from the transaction, getting my ego out of the way. getting this attitude of I'm always right, I know everything better than you attitude, getting that out of the process, and being able to better listen to my clients, and just embrace the fact that it's about them. It's all about them and their needs and their goals, not me. That it's a pretty general response to your question, but I think if I had been able to have that attitude earlier on, I probably would have been a little bit more successful in my first few years of practicing.
Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode. So, and it's kind of why one of the questions we ask when you, register for the show is, if you were on stage giving a seminar, what would you call it? And you put Death of a Salesman. And that kind of ties into what you're saying, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I'm lucky to be practicing real estate in this particular market. And so my experience obviously is going to be different from somebody who's in other parts of the country where real estate perhaps is a little slower, or price points are lower, or competition is less. But here in the East Bay, there is a lot of competition for almost every listing, and the clientele that I'm dealing with tend to be pretty sophisticated, pretty well educated, and they don't want or need anybody to sell them anything, least of all a house. So when I'm showing, I am not there to sell them anything. I am there to support them, to advise, to consult, to answer questions, to educate. I think that my clients do a much better job making decisions when they're well informed. And in fact, one of my preferred lenders analyzed the performance of all of their top realtors and discovered that I was their #1 agent when it came to conversions. So the clients that I bring them have a much higher likelihood of closing a transaction, and of them, of course, funding the loan. And I think that the most important contributing factor to that is their level of education, primarily based on working with me and asking questions, which I encourage, and then listening and absorbing and growing to understand the issues and processes and the specifics of the house buying process.
Yeah. And what about on the listing end? So let's say you're going up against 4 agents, which you say you'll almost always have competition on the listing end. And here you're going against these agents, and they're coming in and they're saying, hey, we sold, 200 houses last year. We have a team, we've sold 100 houses last year. And you're coming in, you're saying, hey, here's the deal, right, guys? I sell 2 houses a month, but here's why you need to list with me. And like, what would you say?
Well, one of the big differences is that seller is going to be working with me, not an assistant. So they're going to get immediate access to a top producing agent with lots of expertise and a deep bench of support people in terms of inspectors and title escrow officers and vendors, plumbers, electricians, and so forth. So they're working with me, not an assistant, #1. #2, I think is, gets to what I was referring to earlier in terms of trustworthiness and honesty, transparency in the process. So I don't go in and buy my listings, for example. I make it very clear that my advice and recommendations and my predictions about value, for example, are based on a combination of data, hard data, market statistics, which I share with people, a combination of that and sort of the art of the real estate market, understanding market forces, understanding current trends. So keeping up on those things, self-education, participation in seminars and training opportunities and so forth. But I think the main thing is to be transparent and honest with people. And sometimes I lose out to those other agents who are promising a higher sale price, for example, than I might be willing to go out on a limb with. And if the seller is convinced by that, more power to them. They're probably not a good match for me anyway.
And so you don't even worry about that. You just keep moving when another agent beats you out based on sale price.
Yeah, I do. And I've learned that there's always going to be another opportunity around the corner. Maybe later today, maybe next week. No, I don't worry about it. And I'm also aware that for whatever reason, I don't know, my personality, I don't know what it is exactly, but the majority of my business historically has been working with buyers, not sellers anyway. So it's not like I'm putting all my eggs in the listing basket. And if I don't get a listing, it's not the end of the world to me.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then too, because this has come up a few times, especially recently. There's been some news about this and some discussion about this online. Co-op commissions,
Yeah.
In certain areas, in a lot of areas, tend to be falling, and there are agents out there that are agents and companies, especially some companies that actually don't have buyer agents, that do not benefit from buyer side commissions. Then they have no incentive to keep a high co-op commission. So they've lowered the co-op commissions. Sellers are becoming more in control of this co-op commission. And there's two schools of thought on this. The first school of thought is, hey, I get my buyers to sign a buyer broker agreement. It says I'm going to get paid this no matter what. And if it's less than this, the buyer's going to make up the difference. And the other school of thought is, I'm going to let them find the listings online, on Zillow, any way they want. I'm going to show them anything they want. And I'm going to accept, no matter what the commission is, I'm going to accept whatever I get paid because that's in the best interest of the buyer. Which school of thought are you on?
I don't think I would subscribe to either school of thought, Pat. For one thing, in our East Bay market, we don't see that downward pressure on co-op commissions. Co-op commissions are the same as they've been, well, ever since I started, which is not that long ago, but I think preceding my entrance into real estate, it was pretty much status quo. So we're not seeing much of a trend in terms of co-op commissions reducing. We in our market, very, very, very few agents use buyer broker agreements. We just don't operate that way. So what you're describing may be top of mind and at the forefront of conversations in other parts of the country.
So, but if it did happen to you, let's say it did. Let's say a buyer you want to take out finds. If you show a buyer today 8 houses, right? How many of those do you think they find on Zillow or online, Realtor.com, versus you finding it and saying, "What about this one? What percent is they find on their own? What percentage you find?"
98% they're finding their own properties, and that's because that's a strategic decision I make in terms of how I want to run my business and what sort of technology I set my clients up with.
Okay.
So I am
So
not the type of agent who goes to brokers tour every 2 or 3 times a week and searches for homes for clients and then sends them.
right.
And
So that's something that they do. So they have control of that, and
yeah.
then they pick out five. You show them five.
Mhm.
They pick one, and one happens to be less of a co-op than the other four. What do you do at that point?
I show them the home. I get the disclosures. I serve them exactly the same way.
Okay.
Uh,
So then that would be answer B. That's what you do. So, I know I know you haven't seen it, but if you did see it, you would be of the second school of thought, not the first.
yes, except if the second school of thought means that the co-op commission is a half a point or 1 point or zero and
But that's
subject.
not what you just said, that you show it to them anyways.
Well, I couldn't stay in business if I didn't earn a commission. So if it was zero, I would be forced to. I guess I would be forced to begin using a buyer broker agreement and negotiate a commission with the buyer. I how the only other way to stay in business would be to be strictly a listing agent.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. And and it may not be on all of them. It might not be on any of them, but it's a good question because it is. I'm starting to hear it happen in other markets, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to get people's take as to what they should do. Without talking about any specifics, other than it's less than what they're expecting, or nothing at all. I mean, in fact, there was one agent who had 65 listings recently, and she um, changed all of those listings to negotiable on the co-op, which means instead of it saying, a percentage, right? They just said negotiable. And what that meant is, if there were multiple offers on it, you, as the agent, Jeff, had to write in what your commission was. And your buyer may or may not get that based on what commission Jeff put in there, which was it was an interesting experiment. It didn't last to finish the story. One of the reasons it didn't last is because she was getting too many calls from agents who didn't understand what they were supposed to do.
Hmm.
But so, anyways, it's an interesting hypothetical.
Well, it's more than interesting. It's potentially extremely disruptive to how we all do business. So it's a tough one. I'll be watching it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and it may not ever happen, but you know, but it's been put out there, and there's been a recent lawsuit by against National Association of Realtors and the four largest companies in the United States, saying that it was it was antitrust. It's an antitrust lawsuit. Saying that the National Association of Realtors is the one who came up with a rule that the commission is paid by the seller, and it doesn't give, and it's not fair to the seller because it's forcing the seller to pay for something that a buyer should really decide what it is. So, anyways, it's interesting to see where it goes, but that's good. So let's do this, Jeff. Let's wrap this up with our flagship question, and that is this: if I were to take Jeff and put him on an island with, say, 9 other agents, and all the island is not deserted, right? There's a bunch of people there. They're buying and selling things. They're buying and selling homes. They're, there's money to be made. The one thing you have in common with these 9 other agents is no one knows anyone. You're all brand new to the people there. I give you each $5,000. I give you each a laptop computer and a cell phone. And I say, Jeff, and I normally say 1,000, but I'm going to say 5,000 because you got into this business at 60 years old. So, you had $5,000, right? So let's say, I put you out there, give you $5,000. Whoever sells the most houses in a 6-month period gets $5 million. How are you going to beat out the 9 agents and win the $5 million?
Well, I'm going to take that budget that you've given me, and I'm going to spend it on maximizing my digital footprint. I'm going to assume that this island has internet.
It does. It does. Yes.
Oh, good, good. So we've got some sort of undersea cable or something, satellite. But anyway, so I'm going to assume that the people who are buying and selling homes on this island are as reliant on the internet as our current population and group of consumers are. And I'm going to spend that money on maximizing my digital footprint so that wherever they go online, they're going to see me. And what they're going to see is going to be impressive. It's going to be professional. It's going to be well designed. It's going to focus on my expertise, my trustworthiness, my large number of positive reviews, my social credit, if you will. So I'm going to maximize SEO for my well-designed website. I'm going to make sure that I've got professional input to make my profile on sites like Google and Yelp and so forth just as good as they can be, as impressive as they can be. I'm also going to take some portion of that budget, and I'm going to purchase access to consumers via sites like Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever works for me. And so in my experience, it's been Zillow. And I'm also going to spend some of that money on Facebook advertising, since Facebook is such an important vehicle for accessing people who are in the market.
All right. I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox, and it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode. Good enough. Well, you touched a lot of big ones. Luckily you had that $5,000, right?
Yeah.
No, but that's great. I like doing it that way. So, all right. So Jeff, let's talk about your free gift. As you know, everybody that comes on the show brings a free gift. And what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to put it at hibandigital.com/Jeff Weissman. It's WEI. That's WEISSMAN. Jeff, WEISSMAN. I'm going to put all of Jeff's contact information. If you want to reach out to him and say hello, everything about him on there, things that we talked about, links to things we talked about. will all be there on hibandigital.com/Jeff Weissman. Jeff, what is your free gift today?
So I'm happy to provide anyone who asks for it a copy of my digital buyer's guide that's full of useful information. And I also just wanted to mention that I am always delighted to work with referral partners from all around the country if they have buyers or sellers looking for an agent here in the East Bay.
East Bay, the East Bay of California.
San Francisco Bay Area, East side.
San Francisco Bay Area. All right, guys, you heard it here. So on the show notes, I'll put a link to that. And you can also get it by going to hibandigital.com/toolbox, and it'll be with all the other free gifts that agents have brought as they come on here. Or you can text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's hibandigital.com/toolbox, or texting the word toolbox to 444-999. Jeff, best of luck to you in the East Bay area. I hope you get some referrals from the listeners here. And if I'm ever out in that area, we will get together and break some bread.
Sounds good, Pat. Thank you very much. If not bread, certainly a cup of coffee.
Sounds good. Rockstar Nation, thank you for listening to Real Estate Rockstars. Listen, I need a favor. If you find this free content helpful, if you find our downloadable items from each guest helpful, please, I need you to pull out your pointing finger. Yes, the one finger that points at people, and hit subscribe. Yes, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better we look in the ratings, and the easier it is to get guests like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, all the players that are on $1 million listing in the different cities. All that stuff makes it easier the more subscribers we get, so please subscribe. And listen, there's a lot of places you can leave comments. There's a lot of places you can like. We're on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Instagram page is I am Pat Hyben. The Facebook is Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Feel free to leave us comments there. The most popular form of commenting seems to happen on YouTube. Yes, for whatever reason, it's a very open environment. So just go to YouTube and go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Leave us comments there. Some of them we will read on the show. We love your feedback. So thanks, guys, and I hope you are having a great day. Oh, and also, listen, if you're going to subscribe and you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do that too. Have a great day, and thanks so much, Rockstar Nation. I really appreciate you.